Girl Magic. So we're excited to be here and talk about Miss Tamika's latest book, Sugar Hill. And I'll let Miss Tamika come on down.
I gotta work on my sexy walk. Hi guys. Did you guys enjoy that clip?
Yes.
Did you say that was me talking?
After I heard you in person, yes, because I listened to it before, but yeah.
Okay, all right. I was trying to, get my acting on.
Just like Tara J. Vaughn. Anybody ever?
For real? Oh no.
Let's not go. That's Tara J. And he said,
No, that's me. I'm getting my acting on.
yeah.
Oh, thank you to my friend Nicola. She brought me some flowers.
Oh,
She's my Valentine.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm excited.
To be here,
Yes, a little nervous.
Don't be nervous. We're here together. You want to talk about the book, like dive right into this and talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely can. I don't know quite what.
Well, let's talk about you a little bit, because
Okay.
this is novel number 17, I read. So this was my introduction to you, and so I'm looking forward to going back.
Okay.
And
I love when I guess pop a cherry under the radar. So welcome to my world.
Yeah. I will say this was intense reading it. I read a lot of it at work, and I was like, I probably shouldn't be reading this here. But in a good way. In a good way. It was. I loved the characters. Loved how some of the chapters you weren't sure that, or you didn't know that it switched over to a different character until they said their name, and I was like, oh, we're on somebody totally different, like from a different perspective. So that threw me for a loop, but I love that, like, oh, we're on somebody else's love story and how it's progressing too. So
often when it comes to, I love the expression of love. I think that love is a great thing, especially when it's done, correctly and honestly. So when I create my characters, often there is overlapping storylines, because for this story to make sense or for you to fully understand I guess the overall plot in itself, there's always other things going on, other things happening on in these people's world. And there's often one particular plot, but there's characters that seeing or experiencing things differently, and so I like to give you guys that point of view. Writing Sugar Hill has been somewhat challenging but enjoyable at the same time, because with creating these characters, I'm talking from the inside out most of the time with this character Danielle, which is the one you kind of hear in the clip on the plane. She is she's strong and she's fearless, but also she's talking a lot in her head. Meaning, for me, there's some insecurities there. So she escapes sometimes present day, and she gets lost in her thoughts, and she's asking these questions or trying to process what's happening in front of her versus actually just being
right. And he catches that a lot too.
Yeah, he catches
Christian's
that.
like, you're deep in thought. Like, what are you thinking right now in this moment? He says that to her a lot, because she's always thinking like, is he really into me? What's going on? She's got a lot going on. So.
It's more in depth. It's more in depth to why she processes like that. And I think often when we are pursuing love or wanting to be, in love or getting to know someone, we don't sometimes evaluate our own selves. Am I a whole individual coming into this? Am I offering them up the things that they need to feel loved, to feel appreciated, to even feel seen? We forget those parts. So with this character, when you read her, sometimes she comes off a little hard. Like, calm down.
It's based on the situation that she has back at home with
Yeah.
a whole other guy, and she's used to being treated one way and not being supported by him. So to meet this guy, Christian, she's like, is this real? Like, he's treating me so nicely. Like, what's the catch kind of thing? And that's kind of what's playing on in her mind the entire time, is what's going on?
Yeah.
When's somebody going to come out and, like, this
right.
is a joke?
I mean,
You've been punked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that she does have someone. She's actually not single. And I think often, these love stories, we want there to be like this perfect beginning.
Yeah.
No one is flawed. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, and they live to be happily ever after. No, that really doesn't happen for the most part. And she's not really single, however, she's not happy in her situation. She's not intentionally pursuing anything.
Right.
Just something
kind
just
of
happens. Yeah. And I like to write those type of stories because things like this happen. You know, people do some things, and they're not bad people. You know, they're not intentionally trying to hurt you, and they're not intentionally betraying you, but sometimes our energies kind of gravitate to things that kind of feed us life. And so that's what's going on with Danielle.
I love that about her.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Character. Her and her buddy.
Cara.
Cara. She's a handful.
Very much so. What do you think about Cara?
She's loud. That's definitely played out in the book. But she kind of they're similar in a lot of ways. Even though she's the loud one and they're the best of friends, they kind of balance each other too. But they're both dealing with the same type of issues, especially when it comes to their men. And trying to figure out, she also stumbles upon Kent. I got another guy. They're going to Miami for this film, I guess you want to call it convention or whatever. So they meet these guys there, and they're finding common ground with them, and just things that their current partners are not providing them with. So they're finding happiness in these guys. So it's kind of, while you're like, she might cheat on him and whatever, it's kind of in the background. You're like, go for it.
Right. Go for it. Like, have fun.
I hate to sound like that, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yes.
And I mean, the ladies, they are processing it too. They're processing, their circumstances and the things that they have back home. And they're also processing it something new. So it's not like they're just saying, "Ooh, I'm just about to go all the way in." They're like, "Okay, I'ma just, this isn't making me happy. I'm enjoying him." Like they're just enjoying
what happens
the moment.
In Miami stays in Miami.
Cara, and just to dive more into that character a little bit more, I love Cara a lot because she is, Danielle and Cara are both me in a sense. Okay. I always kind of write from things that I know, experience, but a lot of my characters are really inspired by my own emotions that I feel or witness. Right. And so Cara and Danielle, I want to create or show this bond between two friends who really just genuinely support each other. But they're not, as you see, Cara is loud. She's funny, but she just speaks her mind.
Right.
But you also see how she's like that anchor for Danielle, like she kind of keeps her focus, she roots her on, she encourages her. Yeah. At the same time, Danielle's like, "Oh, that's Cara, let her be her." Right. She lets her be her. She doesn't say, "Calm down, you're doing too much." Like,
she's very cool.
They love each other unconditionally, so I want to show that friendship within this whole storyline. So it's more to it than just Christian. There's a lot of different layers to Shabille.
To it, and I love that. Like you said, Cara is she's very out there, but at the same time, she gives Danielle great advice, like just be in the moment. Just go ahead and just enjoy this. You've got, and even now they dealt with their men too. Go ahead and handle that because he's going to freak out if you don't text him back or call him or whatever.
Yeah, right. Go ahead and get it.
It's just funny. Having their conversation.
I'm kind of letting go some of my secrets in there, but we do kind of watch out for each other when we doing a little bit dirt. Some things we're not supposed to be doing.
Girl code.
The girl code, yeah. So I kind of, let some tricks out the bag in the book a little bit. Not that I do that in real life, because I'm single. I can do what I want.
Hey.
So I don't have to lie. So I just tell the honest truth, whether you like it or not.
That's
Yeah.
So I'm excited because, like I said, the ending, which we won't spoil, but...
Yeah, I do so this is my 17th story, and so I did not mean for this story to be presented in two different acts. So basically that you guys are going to receive act 1 now, and then the second act is where all of the kind of shit unfolds. You're really kind of getting to know these characters a little bit more. They're just now starting their journey together, and basically now all the characters are coming together. You're starting to see more and more characters come in as the story kind of flows. Like her friends are coming into town, so you start to see her support system. And then, surprisingly, the ex shows up as well. So it's going to be, why not necessarily the ex, but, the soon-to-be ex-boo, or the person, she don't know who she wants.
Right.
And so with all these characters coming into play, now they all have their own point of view, and they all have their journeys leading up to this moment. So I have to now take you back a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're all going to end up right back at the same location, or this spot in the story where all the shit hits the fan. And yeah, I love writing these stories. It's fun.
Yeah, you did a great job with
I'm
that.
about to do some mind tricks a little bit.
Because I was on my e-reader hitting the next button and it wasn't going anywhere. Like, this is how it ends, so I couldn't wait to get a copy because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing like a whole...
on that. Nope.
I'm like, wait a second, but...
Nope, but I'm definitely anxious to see what you think about...
Act 2?
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so I had this is a funny story. So I was struggling with just how to transition out the ending. Like I said, I don't know why creating the stories have been a little bit more complex for me. I just want to make sure I'm getting the story. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just writing differently on this one. And so I was talking with a friend of mine, trying to get, talking out, kind of get a guy's point of view. Mm-hmm. How would you feel if this were to happen? This is different for me because when it comes to creating my stories, I'm normally reading to the person that I'm getting to know or dating or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But he actually assisted with, some of the plot and the twist. So shout out to the homie.
Yeah.
And to the friend, the homie lover friend, whatever you want to call himself. Thank you. You did an excellent job. Because now I have a really good twist plot to the ending. So
I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. That was different for me. Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. That cliffhanger was something.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot, you were just talking about like love in general and how you apply that to your life and in your stories and stuff like that. And I don't know if you're ready to go over to Traces of Mika, but you talked about that in your first episode too.
Yeah.
A lot about yourself. Yeah, so that was exciting to me because I could relate to a lot of what you were saying. So I don't know if you want to lead off with talking about your podcast and...
Okay, so with Traces of Mika, which is, you heard a clip of that took you inside of Sugar Hill, and it's like an album that I compiled a series of conversations between my children, former flames, best friends, other writers to kind of get their take on love, family, relationships, goal-seeking, mental health, and I call it a memoir pod. Because I'm writing about my life. First of all, I don't think I'm that important for people who want to kind of sit down and read about me. So I figured I would do a different approach. I would have these funny, unfiltered conversations around a lot of shit. I mean, a lot of stuff. And I cuss a lot.
That's okay. Do it. So do we.
It's very raw. It's funny. But you really kind of get to see me. Half the time, I'm drinking on there. We smoking. We having a good time. And I'm talking about... some of my own struggles with, dating or parenting, balancing my career goals and motherhood. I talk about my mental health for the first time and battling my own depression and kind of getting back out there and, rejoining the world and all that jazz. And one thing I love, I even write about it, but I'm not that great at it in real life. Well, let me not just say that. I haven't been matched with someone where I've been able to kind of really showcase how great I can be and loving someone. I like how I said that.
That part, I know.
Paraphrase that. That was good.
That was good.
But I try. I still try. And I'm one of those people where I struggle with focusing, not necessarily struggle, but I just don't choose to focus on one person at a time when I'm dating. I sometimes get bored or, I like variety. Things like that. So, and sometimes it doesn't work in my favor because people are territorial or they don't, they're kind of selfish in getting to know me, I feel. And I like for time to kind of, progress.
Work itself out.
Work itself out. Like I imagine if I like you and you like me, let's keep liking each other. And let it
naturally just kind of flow. Right.
I would eventually not want anybody else, I can imagine. And vice versa, and then we can kind of just make it work. But I do talk about relationships, and I do talk about, pursuit of happiness, and I have a conversation even with my daughter where, you know, I'm allowing her to ask me all of these questions and anything she wants to ask me. Oh, Lord. And ask me, because she's 17 now.
Right, okay,
so
she's older. So
she's older, like she's older now. So it's
Yeah.
like, let's have these conversations.
Yeah.
And so I call it Traces of Mika because they're all traces of who I am. I took old audio clips of myself when I was 10 years old.
Played that at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
The first
of every single episode you
do
hear.
it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know if you ever heard the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
So there's different clips in between her songs, and she's playing out conversations or different, you know, things going on. And I have clips of myself when I was 10 years old that plays out. And I was a very Christian-y child. So I'm praying a lot. I'm preaching a lot. You're hearing a lot of my original music because I used to write a lot and I played the keyboard and all that jazz. And you can hear my mother and my godmother in the background telling me to shut up. Or there was a lot going on because I was loud. Like the house was really small. It was probably this room and maybe this bathroom up into like the stairwell. Oh, hi, Derek. So this is like, that was like our size of our home. It was one bathroom, and sometimes it was up to like 10 people that lived in that small home. But because I was the baby, my mother kind of kept me off to myself, so I always had my own room. And you know, my older sisters or older siblings, I ain't really get along, whatever. Everybody kind of just babied me. So I just stayed in my room. I wrote a lot. I created my own music, and I talked to myself. And so I recorded myself, and those are the clips that you kind of hear on Traces of Mika.
That's cool.
And then I also recorded something with my business partner, Laquita, who's sitting in the back. We were celebrating 420. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
Yes.
There's a picture of me holding Jose Cuervo like this.
All the way close.
Yes, all the way close. I look like a ching ching. But we celebrating 420, and we started talking about all these types of niggas that you can, I mean, dudes.
It's okay. When they read the book, they're going to see that too,
right.
so it's okay.
So there's clips that plays out throughout the whole entire series called Date Me's, NIGGS. And so we basically give out, we name off all the different types of dudes. And then we give you advice on how to date them. And it's actually going to end up being a comedy dating book that we're actually going to put together called Date Me's. Hey. It's actually called that too, so y'all wish me luck. But I enjoyed doing Traces of Mika. It was fun. It was scary. It was vulnerable. It was refreshing, but it was life altering because you kind of hear some really vulnerable stuff that I still don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't even listened to half these clips because I don't like to hear myself. So.
I'm excited to go through. I was like, I only got a
Yeah,
snippet
y'all
of the
go
first
through it and
episode,
stuff.
but I was looking at the
Yes.
titles and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Especially dating here in Atlanta, that really piqued my interest in some of what you just talked about, your love life, and again, the whole dating thing, not just being free with it, just you know, not
just
necessarily
having your options and being all right with your options. And then this is one thing that I always struggle with because I understand the whole dynamic of when a man chooses a woman or he asks for her hand. That is so beautiful. But just because you ask for my hand don't mean I'm supposed to give it to you.
That's it. Yeah.
So I feel like there's a process into this thing. I think that guys just want, I want you, I want to claim you, do this way. And then, but they also want that with other women too. That's fine.
Bingo.
Rock out. Do you. I don't like, if that's what you want to do. But don't give me the illusion that it's just me. I don't need to be lied to.
Right.
I don't need a fairy tale.